Normally it is a ghosts are real segment. This week, let's call it a mindfulness is real segment. So this is going to dive into the more spiritual side of life. Now, I'm a huge fan of it. I meditate regularly. I seek a certain level of enlightenment. Not too much, though. Just enough to keep me calm in so many different situations. Any stress that comes towards me, I just wanted to have some tools that would allow me to deal with the stress in a way that I don't hold on to it and let it build up over time. When I was younger, this kind of stuff really bothered me. I'm sensitive to it. Being kind of an introvert, it caused me problems. So having those problems caused for me and realizing that I didn't want to feel that way led me to more of a spiritual lifestyle. So I've done much research. I've read so many books. I currently have 3 different books on my Kindle. Offhand, I don't have them on the top of my head right now to list off, but I will probably post them on the Facebook page if you want recommendations. One of them deals with something known as Stoicism. If you want to look that up, man or woman, doesn't matter. Let's call it a philosophy. So a philosophy that comes from thousands of years ago that really is prevalent today. The Stoics, they had these ways of living, and we could use this. Really, we can. I know there's a site out there, Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday, I believe. He is one of the first ones to kind of make the connection, if not the first one to make the connection between Stoicism and modern life, and bringing the teachings of the Stoics to today. So I highly recommend looking into that. I believe the book I'm reading now is Stillness is the Key. I'm sure a quick Google search would figure that out for you, Ryan Holiday. But I'm not going to talk about that. I wanted to focus on a more scientific topic that kind of leads back to mindfulness. Now, anybody who feels that life isn't long enough for them, and I know some people who are stressed out by life are probably kicking their smartphone across the room right now, or wherever you listen. I hope it's not a big computer. You might hurt your foot. But let's just not say a fear of death, but let's just say that you've gotten to the point where you're enjoying your experience called life. So I'm going to talk to you for a moment. I'll talk to everybody, but I think you'll get the most out of this, just like I did. So this is an idea around, I guess you could call it a piece of our biology, leading down to a DNA level. Now, the word is telomeres. And what I've, like on the scientific side, the description is it's these little ends on the chromosome that is the ability to copy our DNA. So as you live, again, I'm not an expert on this, but as you live, these little ends, think of it like the ends of shoelaces. I think the little piece is called an aglet. So an aglet at the end of the shoelace wears out over time. And that's what these little ends, these telomeres are. So as the DNA replicates itself, the telomeres get shorter. And old science would dictate to us that a human in their lifetime has 60 divides, or in exchange 90 years. Now, it could go faster, it could go slower. These 60 divides don't factor in the things that make it go faster. Now, if you listen to science, I believe it gets into the quantum level of science. We should be living about 150 years. And when I first heard this, it just kind of, blows your mind. Now, if anybody is familiar with the Bible, whether you're Christian or you're just raised Christian like I was, in the Bible, some of the major characters lived 200 or more years. And people have said that maybe that's just, it's just fiction. It's just that they're trying to make these characters like Abraham seem larger than life. And they said, oh, yeah, he lived 200-300 years because he's the greatest. But then maybe there's something else to it. Maybe it was possible that back in those days that people were living to 150 years or more. Now, you're probably screaming right now, but Daniel, what about the fact that it says anybody who lived in the 1800s or 1700s or 1600s, that the lifespan was much shorter? Let's say that you only lived to be like 40 years old and then you died. Well, there is a misconception there. I'm sure there was many reasons, especially disease. They didn't have medical science like we have today that would have caused them to die at about 40 years old. That makes sense, or even younger. But the other thing is that there was a misconception because there was unfortunately, much infant mortality. So when you did the averages, if you had a lot of infants who died on birth or as young children for whatever reason, then it skews the results. Now, if you go into an old cemetery and you can read the gravestones, I actually tried this myself with some of the old pioneer cemeteries in my city of Hamilton. You can see that, some of the older ones who actually lived full lives and they weren't war veterans or didn't die of disease, that they actually had, I found one that was, I think, just shy of 100 years old. And this is going back to the early 1800s. So I think that the numbers are a bit skewed. But for this, I'm actually going back to, more biblical times. So who knows what that means. But we are getting to the point that science is starting to support the idea that we should be living longer than we are. Now, I'm not going to get too far into medical science, what you believe. I am a firm believer in the natural healing abilities of the body. And one of the first things that can increase your telomeres, that can increase the amount of time that you are on this earth, is good nutrition. But the question has always been, what is good nutrition? Because if you look at the food pyramid, I can't, personally on my own diet, I can't eat most of the stuff that's listed there other than the vegetables and the fish. I stay away from most of the other stuff, especially anything with grains. So for me, good nutrition, if anybody's heard of the keto diet, that's huge for me. And the reason I say this is because over my life, if you've ever seen old photos from me back in the day, I was extremely overweight. And my life was going in a very bad direction. I had poor lower back. I had trouble, even just getting up in the morning and doing things. I was commuting to Toronto every single day, and so my health was going in the absolute wrong direction. So changing my diet was huge for me, and I have a lot of, let's call them thermometers on my body, a lot of sensor points that can tell me that I'm doing things correct, because I have scar tissue on my lower back. My back used to go out once or twice every month, and I was on a lot of painkillers because of that. So when I change my nutrition, I can feel the difference. So if I don't have high carbs, I don't have pain, and that's huge. And I don't feel like as I get older, I actually feel better now than I did in my 20s. And I think a big part of that is nutrition. So for me, keto diet. Not everybody's the same, though. You look at these diets, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Not everybody's body reacts to things the same way. Exercise is a huge thing, and now it doesn't have to be you doing cardio in front of the TV or jogging or whatever. In fact, I am actually against anything that's hard on your joints, because I think it will cause you more bad than good moving forward. Again, not an expert. You might disagree with me. For me personally, that's worked. So exercise could just be going for a walk, but when it's mixed with good nutrition, if you don't have pains in your body, then in that sense, you're actually more motivated. Exercise becomes fun. So I find, certain times when I exercise that I actually feel like I was when I was a kid, because there's no pains in my body. I'm just enjoying the action of doing it. So when you get to the point of not feeling those aches and pains in your body, then the exercises that are best for you, that are most fun for you, will kind of just occur. You'll feel it. You'll feel that that's what you want to do. This is a huge one, happiness and gratitude, and that's mixed in with another one, love. So happiness, gratitude, and love are very high end vibrations. Most of us, when you live in victimhood, when you live in pain, when you're always seeing the worst in people, the worst in your situations, you're not feeling the happiness, gratitude, and love. And because of that, it's almost like the world starts to work against you. That if you consider the world like an ocean, the waves would start pushing back on you instead of you just flowing with the water. So, and that's deep and a little flaky, depends how you hear it, but happiness, gratitude, and love, these are the emotions that you want to be functioning on. Now, I'm not talking about going around and kissing everybody on the mouth, especially today. That would be a very bad idea. But I am talking about just the feel of it. You don't even have to interact with someone. You can just feel love for the environment. You can feel love for something that you have in your life. You can feel love, me watching the documentary on the Cecil Hotel. I could love that. I could love that moment. I could be grateful that that documentary was created, and it's making me happy to watch it. Probably a bad example because it's a bit dark, but you get the point. So functioning on those, and even when you contemplate the future and you think of what's going to happen in the future, if you can somehow skew what you're expecting to be within those vibrations, you'll be amazed at how the world just kind of lines up behind you and makes stuff a bit easier. Not perfect. Things are going to happen to you and you're just going to have to roll with it. But if you're still vibrating at that, even when these supposed bad things start to occur, you're going to realize how you can easily roll with the punches. And at first it might seem like a struggle, but eventually you'll just kind of fall into that flow. And every moment of your life, especially when you're creating, is going to just add to those high vibrations. So I could go a little bit further. I'm going to pause. I'm going to just kind of pull back on that. So happiness, gratitude, love, great feelings, and then those will lead to a positive outlook. And all of these things work for you. I mentioned with flowing with life, to get back to the original subject, it also extends your life. Because if you're enjoying every moment of it, these telomeres will not wear away as quickly. And I believe that those major things that I just spoke of could potentially lead people to live to be 150 years old. I'm not talking about in a hospital bed hooked up to ventilators. I'm talking about a good life. Whatever that you might not move as fast as you did before, but think of it as a better life. And you can see people now, the lifespans are increasing every day. People hitting 100 and even getting to 120 and beyond. It's amazing to watch. And it's partly medical science. So many good things in medical science, but it's also partly on how we live our lives. And the last one I just want to kind of mention is it's good to be in service of something so that you actually have a purpose to your life. This is quite important, because if you don't have a purpose to your life, if you're not enjoying it in that sense that you're not giving back to humanity, you're not connected to it. And a disconnect from that leads to more harmful things, such as addiction to certain types of drugs, whether prescription or otherwise. It leads to addictions, because you're just trying to find that connection. You're trying to feel that natural joy. But when you're doing it artificially, it's not healthy for you. So by having a purpose in life, you feel like you're actually working towards something. You wake up in the morning and you're excited to do it. Such as me recording this podcast right now. I enjoy it very much. Even if not a lot of people are listening, I still love it. And those who are listening, I love you for listening. And I hope you're getting something out of it. So that's it. I hope that wasn't too painful for anybody. I enjoyed talking about it. I'm going to bring the idea of spiritualism and living a good life back to it. If you have any comments, you'd like to tell me that you're enjoying this, let me know. And that way I know I can bring some back more.